Hi folks, I hope you're well. So, in the last video I mentioned Carly Bevan again. The thing of it is, again, as I've said before, she is such a phenomenal example of what is wrong with the church. She goes to the pastor, asks the pastor to stop someone coming to services because she can't handle seeing that person, right? So, as I said, the Bible has a way of dealing with people that cause you upset. Did she do any of that? No. Not any of it at all. Yeah. And she is someone who is a youth minister in that church. I mean, to me, I'm disgusted at that. How on earth are you appointing someone to be a youth minister in a church when that person goes to the world and the world's system, the world's ways of dealing with things that you don't like? How on earth is she going to teach the children to resolve conflict? Her way of resolving conflict is you go and bitch to the pastor. That is insane. It is. It's just, to me, it's just insane. Yeah. We have a system, as I said before, where these people have learned to do things a certain way. They've learned to go to parents and teachers, then work colleagues and bosses at work in the world. And then they come to church and they don't see anything different. There's not another way of dealing with things. It's the same way. You come and bitch to the person in charge, and that person gets rid of that person for you. Come on. We are now in a system at work now that if someone puts in a complaint about you, you're gone. And it's the same in church. Well, because I do believe it was Paul, the one who does the soul food, who basically bitched to the pastor about that lad that he didn't agree with, and got that lad banned from the tea and coffee thing. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe it wasn't him. It's just that the last time I'd seen this bloke was when he had a disagreement with Paul, and when Dave Ellaby had said to him, you probably shouldn't come to any of these tea and coffees in the future then. Rather than saying, well, if you don't get on with that person, just don't talk to them. That's fine. How on earth is it that people get banned rather than saying, if you don't want to talk to someone, don't talk to them? That's the grown-up way. Right? That's always been the way in all of my understandings from childhood, growing up to an adult. And I've done work in schools in the past myself. It was always the case then as well. It's only in recent years that has impacted or infected, shall I say, infected society. This cancel culture has gone all the way through all levels, all ages. And it's in the church. But you have to say, this should now spell the end of Bible colleges and all of that, because obviously it's the Bible colleges that have encouraged this to come into the church and the church ministers. It must be. It ain't God. It's how they've been trained. They've been trained to recognise offence as evil. But again, stupidity is we were told not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And yet, here they are. Not just eating from that tree, feasting on it. And as I say, unfortunately, Kylie Bevan is a perfect example of that. So I don't feel any guilt at all towards her. Not now. Initially, yes, not now. The reason why not now is because, yes, looking back on the situation, my job was at that point in time to walk in faith. I was learning to walk in faith. If I believed that God was saying this was supposed to be my wife, and I'd done all the checks I can do, looked on her hand, no ring, right? Looked at her behaviour, slightly flirty. Okay, again, I'm not going to say she's out of order for that, because God may have encouraged her to behave in that way. I don't know. As I say, for me, it was her spirit recognising something in me, right? Okay. That would be the simplest way to put it, and I'm okay with that completely. But that doesn't mean I'm saying that her spirit recognised her husband. Her spirit recognised someone of God, and her spirit was joyful about that. Okay, Christy, fine. I'm not trying to judge her. I'm saying I did what I could at the time. There wasn't anything else I could do. Especially because at the time, there was no opportunity to have a conversation again with her for around about, just over a month. Right? So from the point of that being a consideration, hold it, what I wrote down all those years ago, I think I've just met that woman in church, right? From that point, it wasn't until a month later. For that whole month, I was supposed to be walking that out in faith, because that's what you're supposed to do. Right? You're supposed to learn to walk in faith. That means walking in faith in things that you believe God is doing. You're going to get things wrong. Okay, that's fine. Mistakes will happen. That's fine. We don't ever do anything to offend, but mistakes are going to happen. Okay. But that was in 2021. It's now 2025. It's nearly 4 years since then. Nearly 4 years. And she's still acting like a little baby when it comes to that. The church has had 4 years to help her to deal with that. It hasn't. It's not my responsibility now. It hasn't been for a long time. As soon as she went to the people in the church about it, they had a responsibility to help her to deal with that. Because what I did showed up things in her that had to be dealt with, and the people that should have helped her did not. It's their responsibility, not mine. I feel no guilt whatsoever because of that. So therefore, I have no problem using that example, because, put it this way, had her church done a better job, had she done a better job, she wouldn't be that example, would she? That's the reality, she wouldn't. So therefore, I have no problem at all. I don't have any better examples right now. I can't go to that church, to the service, to meet the people there and see better examples, worse examples, of people being a good example of how absolutely bloody awful the church is, right? She is a good example. Because again, if I'm going to that church, if I'm going to be the pastor of that church, I want to find out about the people that are actually involved in the ministry. I want to talk to them about issues they've had with people in the church and how they've resolved those issues. If they've resolved them poorly, they're out of ministry. That's it. You're gone. You're gone. You're out of ministry. I'm sorry. You can't stay in ministry. You can come back into ministry in the future if you learn how to deal with things properly. But right now, you're out. You've been in ministry teaching other people how to deal with conflict, and yet you are someone who can't deal with conflict according to God at all. You don't even try to do things according to the Word of God. You don't even try. Then, sorry, no. And as I say, that's why, that pastor, Rick Harris, I don't mind him at all. I can spend time in his presence. He doesn't overly offend me in that sense. I've met worse pastors than him, far worse. The River Church is far worse. There's pastors there are far worse than Rick Harris. Far worse. But I would still, if God wanted me to take charge of that church, I would sack him. And I would sack him because he kept her, I think he has kept her. If he has kept her involved in teaching children, boom. That's it. She goes and he goes. They both get fired from their positions. Yeah, absolutely. And anyone else who supported that. Anyone else who knew the situation and supported her still being involved with teaching the children, they're out of ministry. All gone. I would not play games of it because to me, it's not a game. There are people in church, if they don't learn that they're on the wrong path, they will go to hell. It's not a game. Right now, Rick Harris, Kylie Bevan, and a number of other people in that church are destined for hell if they continue as they are right now. Playing games. Playing church. It is not a game. Not in any way, shape or form. It is not a game. And people in church need to have that understanding, that realization. This is serious. This matters. Yeah. There's too many people that are peeing around with it. You can't. It matters too much. Well, it's people's eternal destination. And once you reach whatever, if you are going to hell, once you reach there, you can't repent. It's done. Too late to do anything about it. Too late to change. There are people in those churches, the River Church and the Community Church of God, and the River Church in Banff, and Oasis Church and all the others, who are going to die in the next year. If they continue as they are from here to then, they will go to hell within a second after they die. They will wake up in hell. And they will realize their mind will start to help them to see that they chose this path. They need to realize, without any shadow of a doubt, that this is the path they're on. They need people to go in their churches who are not going to be afraid to speak truth and not going to be afraid to cause offence. Right now, in those churches, in most churches around in the world, They don't have people in charge who are like that. Most churches don't. Most churches have the idea of safe space, protected churches. And as I say, it's come from the Bible colleges. They're the ones who have spread that nonsense within the church. Is that going to show us the end of Bible colleges? I don't know. Hopefully, they need to end, but is that going to do it? I don't know. Time will tell. So there you go. Oh, indeed. So yeah, I wish you well. But yeah, with regard to speaking about certain people, yeah, the reason why is because they are amazingly wonderful examples of just how bloody awful the church is. And why. So you take care. God bless. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.